Hello and welcome. Well, my webcam on my PC has finally given up the ghost. It's not the hardware. The hardware's working nicely, but the software means it's crashing my computer. So it didn't crash the computer just now. What I've done is had to turn off the YouTube altogether, turn off the PC, turn it on again. Anyway, I'll carry on doing this on my phone because at least it's reliable. Anyway, video again, take 2, telling the truth. I say the most important lesson I was given as a young child before I was at school was to tell the truth, because basically that's all we've got. If I say how many fingers am I holding up, and you say anything else than 5, okay, one's a thumb, so 4 fingers and a thumb if you want to be technical, you're telling a lie. Now the modern things in the progressive view is all about relativism, morals, moral relativism, basically Marxist science, if you can put the two words together and make any sense out of them. Anyway, they'll say you've got 3 fingers and, what about people with no hands or 4 fingers or 7 fingers or whatever? And they will completely muddy the waters and blow smoke around. And the point is it's still 4 fingers and a thumb, and that's your reality. Some things are harder to see than others, but they're still true and they're still reality. So I will start off with economics and work my way through economics, science and other things. And the first thing I'll say is that it's an absolute mistake to assume one group is more trustworthy than others, because you're people first and a group second. So people who believe scientists are more honest than politicians are going to get screwed, because scientists, politicians, estate agents, anybody else are all people first and scientists or professionals second. And you can be just as dishonest in science as any other area, because the temptations are there regardless, and the groupthink and the mafia tactics of shutting down the dissenters and holding on to your reputation and paying your school fees and everything force good people to do bad things sometimes. So you've got leaders and the followers, but in the end silence is acceptance, whether or not you do anything or not, which is why there's so much documented examples of corruption in the police. The very people you're supposed to trust are some of the worst crooks in the world, and there's books and films on that, so don't take my word for it. So we're talking about large-scale connected corruption here. Now, for example, in economics, the left-wing economics forgets about growth. So their view of economics, you have a cylinder of a cake, and they believe that by slicing the same cake in different ways you can make more of it. So somehow one can equal more than one, which doesn't make sense, because that cake is like my hands, 4 fingers and a thumb, that's it, one cake. So if you cut it horizontally, vertically in 8 pieces, 6 pieces, it's the same cake. Yet the redistribution of wealth says that if you take the cake and share it equally, we'll all be equal. Well, yes, we will be equal, but if we need, for our nutritional purposes, 1 slice of cake and we only get half a slice of cake each, problem is everyone will get half as much as they need, and that's it, and they'll all be hungry. Whereas under the free market system, they'll say, well, we've only got 1 cake and it's not enough because people only get half a cake. What we'll do is we will create another cake so everyone has enough, but you have to pay for it. Very sorry, but I put time and effort into it and I need paying for it. And somebody will say, well, I've got no money. Well, what have you got instead? I've got fruit. Oh, that's good, because I make cakes. You take the fruit and you have a cake, and then we'll make a fruit cake and everyone will be happy. So even without currency, you have the barter system. But the point is, the theory of free market growth means that your original GDP of 1 large cake becomes 2 large cakes, because the ingredients were there. You just needed to convert the ingredients to a cake, and if the guy has to get a profit for doing so, albeit, and that's, everyone's happy and everyone gets enough cake. So that's your economic left theory thrown in the toilet and flushed away, never to return, unlike Hillary Clinton, who floats and always comes back to the surface. And now there's 2 of them in the bowl. She's got Obama with her, so you get these little faces popping up. Oh my God, in the toilet there's a Hillary and an Obama, and Obama's making funny noises. Well, put Sanilav down. He's Sanilav proof. Anyway, so enough of the toilet jokes. I can't help it. It's in my blood. Science has upset me extremely, because I wanted to be a scientist of sorts. Couldn't do maths, so I didn't get further than A level, but I loved it. I was fascinated with chemistry and biology, not so much physics because it's all maths, but especially chemistry and biology. And I studied it and got some O levels in it and did the A level course for a year before the maths messed me up. The point is, I respected science. Didn't know any scientists in particular, but I respected and was fascinated by the science. And the thing about science is it's testable and predictable and reliable in most cases, and where it isn't, it says so. However, you have different levels of science. You have solid science, applied science, and theoretical science. Now, the solid science is engineering, for example, or chemistry. So, for example, an architect builds a bridge between two buildings, or somebody makes an aeroplane, and the bridge is there to survive all the people and more. So it has to be many times stronger than it should be, just in case an elephant escapes and walks across the bridge and it still carries the elephant. And you don't often see planes dropping out of the sky. Whereas your average weather forecaster will make rain and hailstorms and tornado warning for 17 days ahead. 17 days later, it's sunny and quite bright and not much wind, and nobody even remembers the prediction, let alone trusts it, or you'll get loads of financial advice. Oh, buy this, buy that. It all goes broke. But because the law says you can give advice without that much obligation because you don't know what the result is, they get away with it. So these predictions by economists and weather forecasts are no better than what a monkey could do. But they still get paid and people forget the predictions quite frequently. So there's two different sorts of science. There's the solid sort, which you can count and repeat and predict. And there's the funny sort, which is a bit funny. We don't want funny science. We don't want political types of science or funny science. And the thing about scientists not being honest is that if you get a group of scientists that they're not honest, unlike the person who rings you up and says, there's something wrong with your national insurance number, please can you send us what it should be and your bank details, you would tell them to get lost. Whereas if a scientist on the news tonight says all the wildfires are caused by man-made climate change, he's just accused you of arson. Now, if the police came round your house and accused you of arson, you'd get a solicitor and probably complain to the police commissioner as well about unfair arrest. But if a scientist says you're guilty of arson, you say, oh no, oh sorry, I'll go to prison now and cut off my heating for Boris. You don't cut off your heating for Boris, you protest, because the truth is you are innocent. Mankind has not created the wildfires. So Channel 5 News put up a story that climate change increased the drought in America today. Yesterday Africa, today America, tomorrow Asia. They go around the world. Anyway, so I put up a little graph which says that the only hot time in America from 19th century till today was in the 1930s. And the droughts have been surprisingly random for that period as well, because unlike the exact temperature, which has changed since 1979 when they got satellite equipment, droughts are fairly easy to record using rain gauges, which we used at school in primary school. So anybody with a primary school rain gauge can tell you if there's a drought. You can't lie about it. You can't lie about the sea level either. All the pictures of the sea levels around the world 100 years ago when they had photographs have miraculously stayed the same 100 years later. They're no higher now than they were. So the scientists are lying to you, but they have power because people believe it. Now the point is that with the scientists telling you something which is clearly not true, it exposes them. Because if they had a real case, firstly, they wouldn't have to lie about it. And secondly, they wouldn't need to employ people on Twitter and Facebook to defend their case because it would stand up on its own. Because Stonehenge doesn't need people going on the internet every day saying, no, Stonehenge really is real. It's made of stone and it's there. Because anybody, even with a webcam, can see Stonehenge live probably. Because I think they've got a live webcam there. And anybody driving past it can slow down or stop and see Stonehenge. Whereas the weather or the temperature in 2100 cannot be seen by any of us now. And I guess what? We can't see it in 80 years' time because very few of us will be alive in 2100. I don't think I will because I'll be 140, so they can shove that one. So we are being told lies and bullshit, and it's very easy. But the trouble is some people don't have a bullshit detector, because my job is to set off people on the fence, people in the middle who've never thought of this, and their bullshit detector is there, but it needs a battery. So I put the battery in it, go whoop, 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 bullshit. Trouble is, most people don't seem to have a bullshit detector, so you show them this is a handful of bullshit. No, it's not. I can't see anything in your hand. You're lying. You can't do anything with those people. They are too far gone. So we just need enough people who are on the edge, who will believe something when they're pointed out and not just deny it. And they won't be able to scam us anymore, because we've been scammed, and big time. Turning off our heating to 10 degrees centigrade, I think even the strongest among us and even the greenest among us will suffer in their houses at 10 degrees centigrade. And if they want to know what it's like, just wait till it's 10 degrees outside and turn off your heating for a day, and then you'll know. And that will be every single day for the rest of your life under Boris Johnson's government, and all the others, because they're all the same. So that is the consequence of lying, is suffering and death. Many people die of hypothermia every year now. Do you know how much the green taxes are on our gas and electricity bills? 23%. Do you know where that 23% goes? It goes for paying landowners to have wind and solar farms, because they get far more rent for that, and paying the people who own the wind and solar for the extra power they use as well. So they get double the money. So they get the money for renting their land out and the money for generating the power. And there's another and, they get paid when the wind turbines don't work, because that's the contract. It's a very good contract. It basically means it's like having a fruit machine where every wheel is only bars. So you pull the handle, bar, 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 £100, bar, 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 £100. No lemons, no cherries, no oranges, just bars. Their fruit machine is fixed. Who is paying all the money? We are, by having our essential gas and electricity taxed at a ridiculous rate, which will only go up. And that's why we've got it, because in 7 years' time or 8 years' time, whenever it is, we won't have any gas. They're just going to cut it off. All our gas boilers will be sitting there doing nothing, because there won't be any gas going into them. Just think about it. So I will now extend our scientific thing to nonsense. Now, in my lifetime, I never thought there would be a time in history where somebody would be saying a man and a woman are XX and XY, and XX makes this lot of characteristics, XY makes those. You learned that in school, probably as 7 or 8 years old, in biology, or science as it was before secondary school. But to actually have to say that and, always an and, lose your job if you say so, because if you're in a professorship or some other academic area and you say men and women are different and they have to be different, you'll lose your job if you're not lucky, if you're not careful. So to tell the truth now is against the law in some cases. It certainly is in Canada and Ireland as well, I think. If you say somebody who is a man who's had his equipment removed and a little gash put where his equipment was and had false breasts inserted, if he says he's a woman, you've got to say it's a she, otherwise you'll go to prison. That's nice, isn't it? So you'll actually only get your social credits if you tell a lie, because underneath all that is still a man. Sorry, all his cells will be XY, whatever you do with it. If they could convert them to XX, maybe you'd have a case, but as long as they're XY. But the point is, I can't feel like you. I can't feel like anyone. I can only feel like myself. I can't feel like a woman. I don't know what a woman feels like. Nobody will ever know what another woman feels like if they're not a woman. You just know who you are. That's it. And as for non-binary, that's the newest one, non-binary. So that means you have XX and XY and variations of that, the intersex ones, and then you've got zero. No, there is no zero, because non-binary means you don't exist, because binary means 0 or 1 in the binary code. Or if you're going to use statistical code, which I happen to be doing for my degree at the moment, you can use 1 or 2, because then the students don't get confused, because dealing with a number that's designated 0 upsets somebody, especially if you're autistic. Apologies to any autistic people, but I know a little about mental health because it's my job. Anyway, for somebody to claim they're non-binary is what we call attention seeking. I haven't got anything clever about me, anything special. I've got no sense of humour. I can't make people laugh. I can't make anything. I can't perform. So I'll be non-binary. Oh, look at you. You're non-binary. I'll tell you something. There is no benefit in bad attention. You don't want to be well known for being an absolute arsehole. You know, it's all very well being on the news, but if you're on the news for having a huge pimple on your dick or for having picked people's pockets and being caught, you don't want to be on the news. You don't want to be well known, because it's worse to be well known for being a dick than not to be well known at all. If you're going to be well known and get attention, do something worthy of it. Don't say you are non-binary. There's no such thing. I would go to court and get a lawyer and a barrister to write. Get 3 lawyers, a solicitor, a barrister and a QC, because it's that important, because it would go all the way to the House of Lords, which is now the Supreme Court thanks to Tony Blair. Anyway, to prove that non-binary does not exist, because for non-binary to exist it would have to have scientific proof. Going back to science again, but good science. Now Venus is the most visible planet out there, and my friend at the gym one night when it was very clear showed me 4 planets in the sky because he recognised them all. There's Jupiter, there's Venus, there's Mars, etc., Saturn, because you can see them on a good night. Where's non-binary? There isn't one. Sorry, it's like Palestine. The other lie, these lovely anti-Semites who say they're against Israel, they say that the Palestinian genocide. The fact is that the non-Jewish population of the tiny state of Israel has gone up from, I think, 200,000 to 2 million since 1948. So if we're doing genocide of the Arabs, we're not doing a very good job. All these things are so easy to find out, yet they don't get checked, and they go through completely, oh, of course, and they just repeat it and talk about misinformation. You say anything about COVID or the climate on Facebook now and it flags up an information warning. But if you talk about Palestinians or false temperatures or attribution to man-made climate change, you get promotion. So bad behaviour, lying, is actually being encouraged by the very authorities who are supposed to stop it. So when you realise that the police are actually more crooked than the crooks, you have to take things into your own hands, not through war or revolution, but through the truth and information and knowledge, because that's all there is. So that's my non-spiritual talk for today. I was going to do a spiritual one as well, but I've decided that I can do the two separately because they are freestanding. Just learn about the real scientific truth, and the spiritual stuff is related to it, but it's separate. So I'll stop for now, and at least I know my telephone works, and I now try and repair my camera rather than buy a new one. Goodbye for now. Live long and prosper. Make it so, number one.